Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the Redington Value Virtual Webinar session. Today's topic we have on managing firewalls and compliances with AlgoSec by Mr. Afzal Sheikh. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the question and answer bar in the right. Hi, Afzal Sheikh, over to you.
Good morning and thanks for joining everyone. I'm Afzal Sheikh, pre-sales for emerging security from Redington Gulf. And today I'll be talking about how to manage your firewalls and compliances using AlgoSec. To start with, I'd like to give you an overview of the company itself. So AlgoSec as a company, it mainly focuses on managing security policies of various networking devices, with the prime focus being on firewalls, in which it stands as a leader and has proven to be award-winning. It has received several awards from prestigious organizations such as Deloitte, SC Magazines, Red Herring, and you can see other of them over here. So when it comes to the customer base of AlgoSec, it has 1,500 plus customers in 50 countries, including 15 of the Fortune 50. It's a very fast-growing company with approximately 55% of the annual growth, and it shares a huge technology partner ecosystem, and few of the partners include Checkpoint, Palo Alto Networks, Juniper, FortiGate, Cisco, Bluecoat. So you can see rest of them over here. So it's not just restricted to this, it has a huge number of partners with which you can integrate. So you can look at this particular point in the technological point of view as well, as in you'll be able to integrate with all these firewalls and have the analysis ready for them. Right. So moving forward, so what are the various challenges that AlgoSec as a solution tries to address? So when it comes to managing security policies, few of the challenges that you might come across being an administrator or being the CISO itself. So there is this huge hierarchy that I'm talking about. So everyone faces their own set of challenges. So the first challenge that we face is complexity, where there could be thousands of security policies running across various multiple number of firewalls, web proxies, load balancers, various other network security devices. We know that we have highly connected applications, as in the applications are interdependent, as in you make change to one application, since it has dependency on the other application might get affected. So you need to have an overview of all the applications at one single glance. You need a solution which can tell you that, hey, if you make changes to this particular application, the other application might get affected in so and so way. And additionally, AlgoSec, what it does is it recommends you that, hey, in order to mitigate this particular challenge, this is what you could possibly do. The second challenge that we come across in our day-to-day life is communication. As we know that there are multiple teams involved in managing any bigger infrastructure. It could be big, it could be small or medium-sized. Any infrastructure, there are various teams involved. So there is this considerable amount of disconnect being felt between various teams. So because of this, they are not able to communicate properly in the same language. As in the application guys, they talk in development perspective. Security guys, they talk in frameworks and security perspective. Operations guys, they talk in networking perspective. So since they talk in different languages, there is a terminological gap. And because there is a terminological gap, this leads to misconfigurations, security breaches, and a lot more. And the third point would be the changes. As we know that networks and applications are very agile, they are very acrobatic, and then they keep changing with respect to time. So tracking all those changes also become a little difficult. And most of the time, security administrators to the topmost hierarchy, they are busy addressing the challenges in terms of complexity, communication, and change. And in the race of doing so, they tend to forget about the compliance, which is again quite an important factor. So we need a solution which can address complexity as a challenge, communication as a challenge, change and compliance as another set of challenge. So AlgoSec delivers a complete solution for managing complex networks and policies. So it does it by ensuring powerful visibility across various platforms, such as it could be a virtual platform, it could be cloud or physical environments. Because we know very well that Nowadays, everyone is having a very hybrid data center, as in there could be some devices in virtual infrastructure, there could be some of them in cloud, some of them in physical environments. So managing it becomes a little difficult, and visibility point of view is a little bleak. So you need a solution which has powerful visibility across all these platforms. So as a solution, AlgoSec comes with a suite, and the suite tends to have three main modules. The first module is called as AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer. The second one is called as AlgoSec FireFlow, and the third one is called as AlgoSec Business Flow. The AlgoSec Security Management Suite helps you by processing firewall changes 4 times faster and also ensures that there is no misconfigurations. Because what it does is that the moment you integrate all these products and solutions with AlgoSec, it is able to give you out the remediations and recommendations on how exactly you can make your infrastructure more compliant to the compliance standards that your infrastructure might be adhering to. And it also ensures that you're totally compliant. It simplifies and automates firewall audits and thereby reducing time and effort that you might end up spending on it. And most importantly, it streamlines the communication across various teams. As we discussed in the previous slide, that application team, they talk in a different language, networking team, they talk in a different language, operations team, they talk in a different language, security team talk in a different language. So all of them, as you see over here, they talk in same language now because of the AlgoSec management suite, right? So how do we make sure that they are talking in the same language? When we say that, what is the concrete reason behind it, right? Now, since I mentioned in the previous slide that there are three important modules. First one is Firewall Analyzer, which is going to be a prime focus of the webinar. So the Firewall Analyzer is generally managed by the security team to perform policy analysis, where it does policy optimization, compliance management, and automate firewall management as well. And when it comes to the AlgoSec FireFlow, so whatever the recommendations have been given by the AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer, which is the first module, a FireFlow acts as a change management module to automatically push the changes which has been recommended by the Firewall Analyzer to the end firewalls, proxies, load balancer, whatsoever. So this is generally used by the networking team. So the AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer is being used by security team, and the moment they raise any change, it goes to the network operations team, and then they understand the change in the AlgoSec language, and then they perform their operations on it. Right? It also ensures compliance and security again, and it improves the level of accuracy and accountability. Because you're pushing the changes which are being recommended by the FireFlow module automatically. Right. And for the AlgoSec business flow, it is generally managed by application teams, because the prime focus of the AlgoSec business flow module is applications. AlgoSec business flow makes it easy to provision, maintain, and decommission connectivity for various applications. It automatically maps the application connectivity requirement to the network infrastructure. So as you can see over here, all of them, they are able to share an ecosystem and they are able to communicate in the same language. This makes the life of an administrator or to the CISO level, entire hierarchy, all of their lives become a little easy. And then, of course, they are ensuring the security and the compliance. And AlgoSec Business Flow module, it optimizes and accelerates applications by providing recommendations and additionally enforcing the accountability, compliance, etc. Right. So what exactly is, we just saw this one. And then when it comes to AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer, it gives you visibility, it delivers visibility and analysis of complex network security policies. And of course, using the AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer, firewall configurations can be optimized to a greater level using features such as intelligence policy tuner, optimization feature, etc. Right. So these are some of the benefits that we have from the AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer. It instantly visualizes your network security policy. All you have to do is make a list of all the network security devices of your infrastructure and have it integrated with the AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer. So once you do so, it's able to fetch out the information from the end firewalls automatically, and then it gives you visibility and the connectivity details. It supports large and complex enterprise networks. So when I say this, all I mean is that it's able to integrate with load balancers, web proxies, web application firewalls, Azure-based firewalls, Amazon firewalls, etc. Or you could say that anything which is having an access list can be integrated with AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer. It could be a router, it could be a switch, it could be web proxy, it could be a firewall, it could be anything which is having the monitoring, or you could say access list capability. And once you do so, you're able to clean up and optimize firewall rule sets. As in, you're able to find what are the unnecessary policies, unnecessary objects which you have created, unnecessary objects as in you have just created a hollow object and you're not using it anywhere in the policy and the configurations, right? So, and then you can prepare yourself for the audit in next couple of hours because it's the everything is automated over here. All you need to do is you need to run the analysis and then you're good to go. So you don't have to spend weeks together on the auditing or preparing yourself for the audit. And it uses the risk assessment feature to mitigate the risk with baseline configuration compliance. So what risk assessment does is that it runs a risk assessment scan on your firewall rule base, and it tells you which are the risks associated with which firewall rules, and what you could possibly do in order to mitigate it. Right. These are few of the supported platforms, and you can see over here, this is not the whole list. These are some of the supported platforms, and as you can see over here, Checkpoint is supported, Cisco, Juniper, Fortinet, all of the widely used brands are supported over here. Not only this, it also supports routers and switches, such as Nexus or your normal routers. It supports all of them. Right. How does it work? So I need to tell you over here that, or I need to emphasize on the fact that, this is a passive device. When I say passive, all you have to do is, when you integrate with all your network security devices, all you need to do is forward the logs. It could be your syslogs, it could be traffic log, threat logs, all the logs, you need to forward it to AlgoSec. And AlgoSec, what it does is, based on the logs that you have forwarded, it's going to perform an analysis on the logs and give you out the results. Since it is doing passive detection, or you could say it's running the passive scan, it is non-intrusive in nature, since it is lying non-inline to the network infrastructure. So you don't have that problem at all that, hey, will this issue have been arised from AlgoSec? Not really, because it is not an active participant in your network. It is passive. And once you integrate it, right, all you have to do is you need to integrate it, and then it becomes aware of your topology as well. So what it does is that all you need to do is, I'll give you a little bit of a demo, right? So all you need to do is, you need to log in and you navigate to the administration tab, you go to the device setup, and then here you can add a device. And you can see all these are some of the supported ones. Brocade switches, H3C, Linux, even the Linux IP tables, you can have it integrated and you can have it optimized, right? So let's say FortiGate. So all you need to do is type in the IP address of the FortiGate firewall. Let's say 10.2.2.1. You need to put the username. It doesn't necessarily have to be an administrator or something. All you need to do is see, we need to understand the logic behind it. And the logic is that you need a user which has permission to fetch the configurations, as in just fetch all the configurations. That's it. It could be read only. That's absolutely fine. Right? And all you need to do is select the baseline configuration profile, which is going to be FortiGate over here. And then you need to tell AlgoSec that how exactly you will be connecting to the FortiGate device to fetch the information and configurations. So you can use SSH over here, which is a secure method. And if you're using a custom port, you could mention it over here. And this is up to you. It depends on how you have configured. And then you can set the log collection method. And the syslog server here is going to be your AlgoSec itself. If you would want, you can set something else to be another AlgoSec server dedicatedly as a syslog server. That is also up to you. And then you need to finish it. And once you do so, what it would do is that it would fetch the commands and other information, or you could say that all the commands that would be required to communicate with FortiGate, it is going to fetch it from the baseline configuration profile. And it's going to take the SSH of your device, of the FortiGate device, and it's going to execute all the show commands. And once it do so, it's going to fetch all the necessary information I have a Palo Alto integrated over here. So if you have a VDOM, a virtual context, or virtual firewalls, vSys, right, it will be fetched over here. And you can run the analysis manually as well, or you could go for automatic analysis as well. Right? With this, it will be able to fetch out all the necessary details. Right? So if as far as the traffic analysis is concerned, it has its own patented algorithm to do it. And it does the real-time change monitoring as well. So this is how the deep policy inspection works. The first step would be you integrate it, right? You integrate it, and it takes an SSH or any corresponding, OpenSec policy or whatsoever, and it contacts the end system, and then it fetches all the necessary configuration and have the analysis ready for it, and gives you out the result in appropriate format. We'll see what kind of results we generate in a short while. Right. When it comes to AlgoSec, it's an enterprise grade solution. So let's say that you have huge number of sites, and then you have a wide number of firewalls and all. So in that case, you can go for the geographical distribution, in which you'll be having a central manager and other satellites in remote sites wherever your firewalls are deployed. And then remote sites, AlgoSec, they are going to collect the information from the distant firewalls, and then they'll send it to the central manager for the analysis purpose. An administrator can log into the central manager, and then he should be able to see all the reports that are coming from the end firewalls. You can also deploy AlgoSec in load sharing, or you could deploy it in the high availability mode. Right. And when it comes to the deployment options, it comes in 3 formats. One is it comes as a hardware box. The second, it comes as a virtual appliance, and you can also install it as a software. And when it comes to AlgoSec appliance, there are 3 models supported as of now. Model 2062, 2162, 2322. 2062 supports 1 to 60 number of devices. 2162 supports 60 to 550 number of devices. 2322 supports 550 to 1200 number of devices. And the virtual appliance is simply you can run it on some virtual machine, or you could run it over your ESX server after doing appropriate sizing. And then you can also run it as a software only. In this case, you are going to run AlgoSec as a package over a Linux server. This is the main GUI of your firewall AlgoSec management suite. And then you'll be able to access all of them from the single pane. Right? And all you have to do is integrate all your firewalls from your various data centers that you might be having. And once you integrate, it gives you a overall topology of all the integrated devices. So how does it do it? So what it does is, once you're integrated with each and every router, switch, firewall, web proxy, load balancer, whatsoever, it fetches the routing table information, right? And then it keeps it with itself, and it does its own mathematics on it, and then it's able to give you out the topological map, right? And you can see all the correlation between firewalls over here. So let's say that today you're not able to access something. For example, let's say that today, sitting on your system, you're not able to access some application which is running behind a load balancer or something similar to that. In that case, what you could do is you can write a traffic simulation query, mentioning the source to be your endpoint's end system, user be your name, and destination be your application address. And if you want, you can mention the name of that application, corresponding service, and then you can run the query. Once you run the query, what it does is that it's going to give you this whole map where it tells you that where exactly is your traffic getting blocked, right? So now, if you click on each and every one of them, the red boxes means this is where the traffic is getting blocked, and yellow means it is partially allowed, and green means it is totally allowed, right? And in this case, if you click on one firewall, it is going to tell you that traffic is being blocked by this firewall, and it is going to point you out to the exact policy which is responsible for blocking it, right? So, or you could also click on each and every network security device, and then you can have the topological map for it to perform your own calculations over it, right? And if you just double click on each and every map, you should be able to get the connections. For example, like this. If you just double click on it, you'll be able to get the whole communication channel. right? As in which switch is it deployed behind, what are the immediate connections and everything. Whatever it can fetch it from the routing table, it will be able to do it. So the best recommendation here is that you integrate with the entire infrastructure so that your AlgoSec has the visibility onto all the endpoints, all the firewalls, all the servers, etc. Right. Then, and you can select a particular firewall, you'll be able to see the changes which have been made recently onto the Palo Alto. This is again on the basis of logs. To be specific, audit logs. Since you're forwarding audit logs from your Palo Alto device to the firewall analyzer, it is able to fetch out the information. What are the changes that have been made? The changes could be the topological changes, object changes, rules changes, services, applications. So if you just click on rules, it will be able to tell you that, okay, this rule was changed, and it will indicate with a plus mark that, okay, this particular service was added, and minus mark would indicate that, hey, this particular service was deleted. So that's how you basically read out the information from the change management feature. Then the risks tab over here, it shows that what are the various risks involved in this particular firewall. And this is strictly with respect to the the rule base that you have. So it's performing a scan, or you could say that it is performing an operation on your rule base. Then it gives you out the policy optimization recommendations, as in it tells you that, okay, these are the unused rules, these are the covered rules. Covered rules as in this rule is not there could be two rules. One rule might be non-functional because rule number A might have overridden it totally. For example, placing any allow rule over source something, let's say that source is the LAN subnet and then destination is the WAN subnet. So that will be cleanly overridden by the any rule. So in that case, your rule number 2 would become totally non-functional, and you'll not be able to, you're just increasing the load on your firewall, you're consuming storage, nothing else. So in that case, you need to clean up such rules. So that is called as policy optimization. Then the disabled rules, your time inactive rules, then your not logged rules, as in you might have disabled logging for it. No comments. Comments is a part of compliance, so it's always good to put it, because once you leave the organization and some other administrators join it, he'll not be able to understand how exactly was the rule written. So in that case, we need to mention the comments. So if you have not mentioned the comments, it kind of affects your compliance. So it is going to tell you that, hey, you have not mentioned the comments over here, so you might want to consider it mentioning it, right? Then it gives you the device connectivity diagram. So you can see it over here. It shows you device connectivity diagram here like this. So then moving forward. So if you go to the risks, it will be able to list you out all the findings that you have. For example, the firewall which we have integrated. So all you need to do is you need to open the reports, post running the analysis. And then if you click on risks, it will be able to tell you that, okay, these are the high risks. There are 4 suspected high risks, and then 4 medium risks, 1 low risk. So if you click on each and every indicator, for example, any service can enter your network. So I want to see that how come any service can enter my network. So in that case, I can just click on this firewall rule, and then it will give you out that, okay, there was one rule found which was allowing any service to enter your network, and this could possibly lead to a security breach. And which compliances can they affect? And it also suggests you the remedy. So you can just click on details and drill down a little more. It points you out to the exact rule, that which rule was it that is allowing any service to enter your network, right? And if you go down, you can see that any service between internal network, HTTP, HTTPS can enter your network, insecure internal access to the firewall, and all other corresponding risk ratings. Then moving forward, it does policy optimization in this format. So it is able to give you out the unused rules, covered rules, redundant special characters, all those rules. Consolidated rules, this is an important feature. This is something we use very much widely. So consolidated rules means the rules which are, there could be 2 different rules, where the say source, destination, everything could be same, but only services are differing. So in that case, when a packet hits the firewall, your firewall, what it does is that it wastes its time traversing throughout the firewall rule base because it follows XML architecture, right? So there is no need for you to have two different rules. So you could consolidate those two rules and frame one single rule to save your time and efforts, and also to increase the performance of your firewall, right? So it helps you with the rule cleanup, objects cleanup, right? So you can see it over here. So if when you're performing the rule cleanup, you can select that, okay, I would like to disable this particular rule. So you can click on that particular rule and then you can click on disable selected rules. So when you do so, what it does is that it will talk to the FireFlow module, which is responsible for pushing the changes onto the end devices, and it will create a ticket automatically. And then what you can do is that you can make your network operations team or the change management team a part of the FireFlow, or you could say FireFlow administrators or FireFlow users, and then they should be able to see that, okay, they have gotten one change request, right? So so these are the various stages of approval. So you can add managers over here, planning team, you can add the planning team over here, approving team, you can add managers here, implementation team, you can add it here in the implement phase, validation team, you can add it in the validation phase, and matching team, you can add multiple teams to various flows of the FireFlow module, right? So in the planning phase, it will give you that, okay, this is the changes which you are going to push, and this is the possible impact that you might have when you're pushing the change, right? And it shows you the impact in the form of traffic simulation. And then when it comes to the implement stage, your implementation team doesn't have to take the overhead. So if your device supports the active change module, so using the active change functionality, you can remotely push the recommended changes to the end devices automatically without having to touch the firewall as well. So this makes your life easy, and then this will be able to push the changes 4 times faster. This is recorded, right? So you can just click on implement on device, and then it will push the changes onto the end devices. Right. So the other things that it can do is rule reordering. So for this purpose, for rule reordering, intelligent policy tuner, and the rule usage statistics, you need to make sure that you are able to send out your traffic logs, threat logs, syslogs, system logs, config logs, all the logs. You should be able to send it out to AlgoSec for the analysis purpose. Trust me, it's not a very big configuration. It will hardly take 1 or 2 minutes of your time. And then you should be able to get the intelligence policy tuner. So what it will tell you that, okay, it will give you tighten permissive rules, as in it will tell you that, okay, these are the gaps that you're having, using which the other traffic or unnecessary traffic that has the potential to breach out your network, it will give you the recommendation saying that you need to tighten these security rules. What are the unused objects? Policy tuner analysis for all the rules. And in the rule reordering section, it will give you out the top 10 optimizations. It will be able to tell you that, hey, if you make these changes to your firewalls, your firewall will become so much percentage compliant to the compliance standards that you might be adhering to. It will make your firewall more compliant. So it uses an algorithm called as RMPP. Okay, this is the proprietary algorithm to perform the rule reordering. And it gives you the rule usage statistics, where it tells you that, okay, these are the unused rules, unused objects within rules, least used rules, most used rules. It gives you out this concise information that is enough for you to perform your operations or the cleanup as well, and preparing yourself for the audit. And of course, you have the active change module, using which you can push the recommended changes right from the console. Right? So, and you can see it over here, intelligence policy tuner. It gives you information like this, where it's able to tell you that these are sparsely used. You can see the indications over here. These are for the unused ones. These are sparsely used, semi-dense, and dense. Right? You can drill down each and every information, and it will be able to tell you that, hey, this is the recommendation that your IPT module is giving. Right? So, so it gives you that information along with the impact analysis as well. So you can see here, this is the top 10 optimization. This is with the RMPP algorithm, rule usage statistics. So what it says is that from the zone demo internal to the zone demo DMZ, move rule this one before the social net. And if you do so, the improvement would lead to 30% in increment. Right? So it's giving you out the optimizations and recommendations as well. Right? So then how does it ensure that you're compliant? So there could be any compliance standards that you might be adhering to. It could be ISO 27001, or it could be PCI DSS, it could be HIPAA, it could be anything. So all you need to do is, once you run the scan, you go to the regulatory compliance module, and then you can select the compliance standard that you might be adhering to, right? And you can click on each and every one of them, and then it will give you out the auditor sheet, and then it will tell you this will give you out the auditor sheet, and then it will be able to tell you that, okay, these are the criterions that you're matching, right? And these are the criterions that you're missing out on. For example, you can view it over here, that email notification, these users get an email when following occurs. That is not configured over here. This is the reason why you're not compliant with this particular segment, or you could say this particular criterion. Right? As you scroll down a little more, there are some rules with empty comments. So you shouldn't really have it. So you can just click here and it will redirect you to the exact rule like this. Hey, these are not having comments, so you might want to be you might want to consider adding a couple of comments over there so that you can fall compliant with this particular criteria. And for the risk analysis, it's able to tell you that it found a couple of risks over here, so you might want to clean it up. So how did it find that risk? Using the offline security scan. So you can open this and then you can get your report. You can see it over here. Right? So since there were a couple of vulnerabilities, and these are the vulnerabilities it had, because of which you're falling a little non-compliant. So again, you might be careful, you might become a little more careful of these. And then there is no scheduled analysis. So please turn on the scheduled analysis. So it gives you in this format all the recommendations, and then you have the auditor checklist, and it tells you that which which criterion you're not matching up to and which criterions you are matching up to, and then it gives you that since you're not matching up to this criterion, you can make yourself more compliant by doing so and so. Right. So you can see it over here. There are a couple of other risks as well. Password is set to the factory default value, so you can customize your password and then change your password. Access to device risks, other risks, you can see it over here. Your protect cardholder data. So let's see if there is anything non-compliant over here. No. And then email configuration risks. Over 256 IP addresses can be reached by SMTP. So this is a risk, so you might want to mitigate it. And this is your vulnerability management program, and there is one criterion you're missing out on, and that is you're not using AlgoSec business flow. So you're not having proper visibility. That's what it is trying to tell you that. Palo Alto software version is no longer supported. So you can see it over here. It gives you out a very comprehensive information which you can use to make your firewall a lot more compliant. So you can see these are the other supported compliance standards: SOX, ISO 27001, NIST, SP 853, GDPR, GLBA, all these. So let's say that now in some of the cases, right, your company might be a local company. So they might also be adhering to this one, and additionally they might be adhering to the local compliance as well. So what you could do is you can contact the professional services of AlgoSec, and then you can ask them to build a new regulatory compliance or customize a new regulatory compliance just for your organization. Right? And this is what you could possibly do to make it better. Right? So moving on. So it gives you out, we saw how exactly this looks like, right? And then these are and if you click on the policies section, you'll be able to explore all the policies, right? And that includes your rules, your expanded rules, application definitions, right? And for your support purpose, all you can do is that you can fetch the support files from here in one single click, and then you can attach it and send it to the support team, and they'll be able to perform their analysis on it. Right? So you can see the policy base over here. So This is what I was referring to. All the changes, you can track it from here. See, it's saying that, okay, these were the changes. There were a couple of changes being made on the rules, right? There were a couple of risks that arose because of the changes that you had made. There were some policy objects you have added or deleted or modified. Baseline compliance had changed. Audit logs have changed. Right. So here you can see that it points you out to the rule, and then it tells you that this is what you had added and there was nothing you deleted. You can move on, and then audit logs, it gives you out the audit logs. So you can see that this change was being performed by this administrator. This was the guy who was responsible for making the changes. And what kind of change did he make? Right. So, and then additionally, for your SOC purpose, to display it on the SOC screens, you can use the AlgoSec reporting tool. There is no separate license for this, right? All you can do is that you can click on the AlgoSec reporting tool, and then it gives you out the dashboards. It gives you out the predefined dashboards for the displaying purpose. As in, you can display it on your SOC screens so that you can track it. Since it is a real-time monitoring solution, you can track it as the attacks, or as not attacks, as the changes are being made, or as the risks are increased or whatsoever, right? So you have all these dashboards for various compliance standards: optimization dashboard, risks dashboard, baseline compliance dashboard. So you have various dashboards over here. And let's say that you were to add a particular, you were to customize a particular dashboard, you can have that done, right? And you can see the dashboards over here. You can zoom in a particular dashboard and then you can make it visible. That's something additionally you could do, right? Like this. For example, the change request statistics. You can create a pie chart, bar graph, anything. It is totally up to you how you want to do it. So this brings us to the end of the session. And then in nutshell, you can say that there are three main modules inside AlgoSec Management Suite. The first one being AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer, which is responsible for managing the firewalls. As in, all you have to do is integrate your firewalls, and then you'll be able to push the changes, you'll be able to get the policy recommendations, and you'll be able to track the compliance, strictly according to the compliance standards that you might be adhering to. And any changes which are being recommended from the AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer, right? You can push it automatically to the end devices by doing a single click, and the change request would be created in the AlgoSec FireFlow module, from where you can push the changes automatically. And to deal with the business applications, to understand the communication, or you could say that to understand the connectivity and all that, you can use the AlgoSec Business Flow module, where you can easily provision, maintain, and decommission the applications. Right? So this brings us to the end of this webinar. And if you have any questions, you are free to ask, please. Any questions?
Thank you, Afzal. I think there are some questions in the question and answer panel, Afzal.
Okay. No, I can't see any questions over here. Yes, there is one. So does it perform remediation? Yes, it does perform the remediation. All you have to do is that whenever it gives you out the recommendations that, hey, this is how you can mitigate this particular risk. So it will give you out the recommendations saying that, hey, you can move this rule above this one. So all you have to do is you can click on that one and then publish the changes. So what it will do is that it is going to create a request in the FireFlow module, and from the FireFlow you can push the changes onto the end module. And for this you have a separate license. It's called as active change license. So I hope it answers your question. Does it store credentials for all integrated devices? Yes, it does store the credentials, but not in the normal format. It doesn't store it in plain text. It stores it in the form of either keys, or you could say that encrypted keys, or it stores it in the form of hash. Virtual appliance support Hyper-V or VMware? Both of them are supported. Virtual appliance support Hyper-V, both of them are supported. Able to join the session recorded session. Yes, you'll be able to, Rima, you'll be able to get the recording from the YouTube channel as well. And then Najaf, can you send the recording as well?
Yes, Afzal, we'll be sending the recording to the participants and the slides.
All right, great. So that should be fine. Does it analyzes threat logs if we forward firewall from AlgoSec? Yes. In order for you to get the best analysis, you should forward the threat logs as well. The reason is, in order for it to perform risk assessment as well as the threat assessment, and for some of the policy optimization to work, you need to make sure that you're forwarding the threat log. So I would say that yes, it is mandatory. Can you explain about the licensing types? Okay, so as far as the licensing is concerned, all you have to do is, as a first step, what you need to do is you need to gather the information. And what you need to ask them is that you need to ask them, hey, how many number of standalone firewalls you have? Okay, so standalone as in it's just a box which is having a firewall in it. I'm not talking about virtual context or anything, just standalone firewalls. The second question that you might ask them is, how many cluster firewalls do you have? Okay, again, I'm not talking about virtual context over here. And third information is, ask them how many standalone firewalls you have with the virtual context, and ask them how many virtual contexts. Let's say they say that I have 3 virtual contexts. So make a note of those as 3 counts. And then fourth, ask them how many standalone, how many clustered firewalls with the virtual context inside it. Right. So once you do this, you'll be able to just count the number of firewall modules. As in, standalone is having 1, virtual context is having each virtual context is supposed to be counted as 1, right? And each clustered virtual context is supposed to be considered as 1 single count. And let's say you have cluster of 2 units, it will consume 2 licenses. So you could say that each and every context or each and every firewall as a module itself will consume 1 single license. So this is how the licensing is done. There is no bundle, there is no concept of bundle over here. But additionally, they'll ask you that, hey, do you want to go for topological mapping and threat simulation or traffic simulation query? So in order for you to do the traffic simulation query, you need to have the routers and switches integrated. And for routers and switches, you have a separate license for that. They'll ask you that how many number of routers and switches you have. All you need to do is give out the count of number of routers and switches, and then you should be good to go. And then, yes, lastly, for the active change module, they'll ask you that, hey, do you want the active change functionality, as in pushing the changes right from the console? And you need to answer that, okay, yes or no, whatsoever. And then they'll give you the license accordingly. And yes, again, last, for the AlgoSec business flow, there is a separate license, as in you need to tell them the number of applications that you have. So I would repeat, AlgoSec Firewall Analyzer will have 2 different types of licenses over here. One would be number of firewalls, and 2 would be number of routers and switches. And then we move on to the FireFlow module, where you need to ask them, okay, licensing would be based on active change module, as in they'll ask you that, would you want to have the active change module? And if so, for how many firewalls, right? And thirdly, number of applications for the AlgoSec business flow. Right. So this is how the licensing is done. There is no concept of bundles over here, right? But it depends on the functionality that you would want to have. What is the other question? Missing time price over. Anything else? Any other questions? I don't see any other questions. So if you have any other questions, you can type it in, please.
Okay, so I hope there's no more questions now. So we will wind up the session. So thank you, Abhishek, for the wonderful session. And for all the attendees, the recording of this webinar will be made available in YouTube. And we'll be sending the recording as well as the slides to the attendees within 24 to 48 hours. And thank you again for joining the Redington Value virtual webinar session. Thank you, Abhishek.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.